Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I feel like the music is too loud. Is the music too loud? It feels loud to me. Hopefully that's better. Hi, Allison. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a hybrid live stream. It's General Hospital After Show and also a review of Monsters. Lyle and oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Lyle and Eric Menendez brothers, their murder story. Hello, Angel. Hope you guys are doing well. I've had a crazy week. High stress, but I'm hanging in there. But yeah. Well, first of all, I want to ask you guys, and whoever else is in the chat, did you guys watch the whole series yourself? The Monster series? Did you get a chance to? Do you have Netflix? And this is just me asking at the start of the live stream. I'll leave it up to you guys whether you want to talk about GH first or Monsters first. I'm just curious who's actually watched Monsters before we get into either topic. Just watched Barbara Walters' interview with the real Menendez brothers. All right. And yeah, I guess they're dropping a Netflix documentary where they interviewed them pretty recently as well. I literally, just before I went on the live stream, I watched the trailer for it. And it comes out October 7th. But yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I will say, like, while I knew about... So I'm down to discuss all of it. I don't have Netflix. Well, okay, well, first of all, for anyone that hasn't watched the series as well, I'm going to do my best to not spoil a whole lot. I'm mostly going to talk about my thoughts on the series, my thoughts on the performances, and, I mean, just general thoughts about it in general. Obviously, I mean, I guess the gist of it, it's hard to, like, spoil something that's happened in real life, I suppose. I mean, obviously, the show is about these two kids killing their parents, and the story around it, and what may be true and what isn't true, and a whole lot of other things. Oh yeah, I read that, and I actually have that article up, Angel, to read when we do go into it. And you finished it Saturday. I finished it on Saturday as well, I think. Did I finish it Saturday? Yeah. Saturday or Sunday night, I finished it. Allison, you said, I remember when that murder happened. It was in the LA area where I lived. Oh, wow. I did actually read something from Nicholas Chavez today, who said he lived by the actual house where it happened, like pretty close to it. So he went over there, I guess, to inspire his audition, I guess, a bit, or just to feel the energy or whatever. And the other actor that played the other brother, Cooper, who played Eric, actually met Eric Menendez. So that's interesting. Learned about them in high school in sociology. Yeah, I think generally, obviously, long before the series, I heard about the murders, how these two brothers killed their parents, but I didn't know a whole lot of the story surrounding it. I really only started doing more research, a little bit of research here and there anyway, when I heard that this series was being made. So yeah, I think the gist of what I knew is that they were brothers that killed their parents. There was question of sexual abuse and, a lot of speculation. Yeah, yeah. He's 25 years old. All right, well, so, I mean, since we're getting into it, we might as well get into it. If you guys are cool with it. Hey, Kaiwan. Oh, did Kaiwan, did you watch the show as well, the Netflix show? Let me know. But yeah, I think we might as well get into it, because I think this will likely take less time than the GH stuff anyway. Kim Kardashian went on the set of the show to complain. Interesting. Kaiwan said, you love the show. I think it's postmodern and can't be at the same time. It really showed the idea of the craft of critical theory and the idea of critical theory and the police. All right, well, let me discuss sort of my thoughts surrounding the series and just how I went into it. So the first thing I want to say is that had Nicholas not been a part of it, I probably wouldn't have watched it. Mostly because I find it's like a really doing a series based on something that actually happened is a slippery slope to go down between telling the story and making it an entertaining one for television or streaming services. And as some of you guys know, I watch a lot of Ryan Murphy shows. I was a big American Horror Story fan. I watched Glee. I watch 911 to this day. Like, it's so going into it mentally, Ryan Murphy has a tendency to really camp up his shows that he does. And that's it. Knowing that he does that with most of his series, as far as I know, any series I've watched that he's created has a little bit of camp to it, a little bit of like a little razzle dazzle, his own little touch to it. And I find when it's in like fictional stuff, it works really well. That's why I loved American Horror Story so much. But when it comes to like real life situations, Ryan's camp could be very offensive to anyone involved, whether that's, in this case, the Menendez brothers, the people that were kind of involved, whether it was their lawyers, people that have made statements, the cousins, the families of the Menendez brothers, and obviously the Menendez brothers themselves. And that, I recall the whole situation with Dahmer, the first season of Monster. A lot of his victims did not give approval to be sort of mentioned on the show and portrayed a certain way, and they were not very happy with the situation. So, that was knowing that about the Dahmer series, that was very much like my whole like worry with this series. And yeah, and like you said, Angel, Eric already condemned the show for it. First of all, the thing that I don't know, did he watch the show? Because like, are people in prison allowed to watch Netflix shows now? Genuine, and that's honestly a genuine question. Like, he doesn't state that he's seen it or not. He's given the impression that he has, but I don't know. But yeah, hold on. What are y'all saying? It's not only camp; it's counter culture with the show. I guess he's more critical theory. Well, he doesn't write all the episodes, but I think the people that race this show with are campy and counterculture, that the right, as he has, only the others. So I don't quite understand. Maybe he's rich, he can get a private television. Angel, you think his wife did? Okay, interesting. Yeah, that I was just curious about. But yeah, so I mean, I won't. obviously you guys have read the statement, so unless anyone hasn't, I have it up here if you guys want me to read it. Obviously, he wasn't happy with the show. There were things about it that aren't true, and that's, you know, in a sense, I guess, the producers and the writers taking certain liberties to make the show entertaining. And that's why I don't like watching these shows. I would much prefer to watch like a documentary, or like, cause I love like true crime documentaries. Like I could watch those for hours. But ironically, I never did watch one on them, and I'm kind of tempted. I think I will watch the Netflix one when it comes out, but I'm gonna look up some other stuff on YouTube too, just to see more perspective on it. Maybe cut one. But yeah, so yeah, it's like I said, it's a slippery slope. So had Nicholas not been on it, I probably wouldn't have watched it personally. I would have just stuck to the documentaries about the real life situation. The Angel, he said they made his character appear gay or non-straight, even though he said in an interview that he's not gay. Yeah, like I said, they took certain liberties, and you know, Ryan Murphy's a gay man, and he's got like, y'all saw their abs in this show, right? We saw more of Nicolas Chavez than I thought we ever would. But and you know, good for him. They got their bodies ready for this series, clearly. But yeah, there were certain liberties taken. So before we get into any of that kind of stuff, the one thing I do want to start with is that I think that all the actors that were involved were phenomenal. They all did a fantastic job. As an American Horror Story fan, loved that we got to see Leslie Grossman and Evan Peters play some certain roles. Evan Peters played Dahmer in the first series, and he was very well known in American Horror Story, obviously. And I Evan Peters played the young version of the Menendez brothers' father in like flashback scenes, and Leslie Grossman played the woman that their therapist was having an affair with. I don't want to see NAC in a Speedo ever again. We've seen his whole ass at one point in the shower. But we've seen even more of Cooper, actually. Cooper Cash, who played Eric. Frontal. How do I feel about making an actual living person gay, even though they aren't? Yeah, it's not right. Like, I think that, you know, if you're going to tell a story about these brothers, you can take certain liberties to an extent, but you can't like change their sexualities. I mean, obviously, I don't know if this was just like a part of what went down back then, and or just another added thing to the script. Like I said, I don't know the whole rundown of what actually went down. There were insinuations that there was an incestuous relationship between the brothers. I've heard different things. I've heard that it was either something that was mentioned back in the day as the trial was happening, or that it was just something that he added in. I don't know. But one thing I will say is that before I had even really watched the full series, I was already seeing people comment about an incestuous relationship, and how like it turned them off of it and all this stuff. But when I watched the series, it didn't strike me as an incestuous relationship, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like they framed it as, you know, they were both sexually abused by their dad. Lyle was first, and then Lyle was sexually abusing Eric as well. but there wasn't like a romance. That's the interpretation I got. There was a scene where they kind of got a little bit closer. There was a kiss on the lips, but like I've seen relatives like kiss on the lips, but like in like an endearing way and not like an incestuous way. You know what I mean? So I feel like that was kind of up into to interpretation. Oh, I know she's a true lady. I know she's a true lady. The prosecutor thought Eric was gay because of the molestation. Eric said that. Okay. But yeah, so after finishing that series, I was like, this wasn't about incest, and there wasn't an incestuous relationship forming. Yeah, there was like weirdly close moments of like, wow, but it was like when they were really high, and it's like, so I don't know. There's just a lot of, I think people seen a picture or a post and they would just go in for the kill, as people tend to do. But yeah, Lord, I shouldn't have said the M word. It's okay. If the live stream ends, we'll know why. We'll just start another one. We're talking about a show, for God's sakes, you know? But anyway, what was I gonna say? That part I didn't take issue with, because, you know, that Coke scene where it was weird and the woman was like, what? Yeah, like that was the most that like they kind of implied something, but like also, like, I'ma just be real. I like in my early 20s, there was party favors around, and I seen plenty of straight dudes being a little bit gay when they're high and out of it, but not like, you know, they weren't like groping each other or anything, but they were just like getting all close and mushy gushy, and so like it's just a thing that tends to happen when guys are a little bit out of their minds. So I don't know. So it didn't bother me. Dominic Dunn got on my nerves. Yeah, well, just to, actually, I wanted to say one more thing. What was it that I wanted to mention? Oh, so I will say, and this is kind of going back on the actors' performances and stuff, that the most impressed I was throughout the whole series, and again, all the actors did a phenomenal job, but the most impressed I was is that there was an entire episode shot in one take between Eric and the lawyer, telling his story of his sexual abuse, all in one take, the entire episode. And I was just wowed by it. I was like, holy crap. Like, first of all, just to memorize all those lines for that entire thing of time. I mean, I know people do it on stage all the time, but like when you got a camera at it and there, you know, it's supposed to be this compelling thing, and it was very compelling, considering there was nothing to it. Like, there was, I mean, obviously the dialogue, yes, but in terms of like production, for like the most of the time, the series was, or that episode was, the camera was just stagnant, just still, and the only time the camera moved was just to zoom in on Eric. That was it. And then there's no music, like nothing. Like, it was just the conversation and then the credits. That was insane to me. Like, I was so impressed. Cooper was a star. I think Cooper and Nicholas, they both did an incredible job. I mean, I think, I don't know if I would have loved to seen like a similar kind of back and forth with Lyle and a lawyer. I think having 2 episodes like that would have been a bit much. You know what I mean? But I think Nicholas probably could have pulled it off too. He played psychotic really well. Psychotic spoiled rich kid really well. And Kaiwan, you said brilliant. They don't make television like this. Yeah, that was insane. Proud of NEC, but Cooper really has really good stuff to act. Yeah, that's true. I feel like, well, I guess my take on it as just like someone who's watched him on GH is that he was playing like what Spencer would be like if he was unhinged. So it kind of seemed like Spencer was just out of control and like doing drugs. Like if this was like if GH wasn't like a PG-13 daytime soap opera, like I could see Spencer acting a lot like that. Maybe not killing his parents, but like acting all just unhinged and spending money wildly and lying out of his ass all like constantly, like all this other stuff. Like I think it was like Spencer times 1,000. But I will say, it's been fun seeing the rest of the world introduced to him, because they're all like freaking out and fangirling, and there's girls that want to make fan fictions about him now, and you know he's blowing up. Rightfully so, and well earned, considering like GH was his first acting gig and this is his second. That is insane. Like I'm so stoked for him, and he's got another series that's I think coming out like in the next couple of days, if not already, on FX. I don't think I can watch that one. I don't think I have FX. And I'm a little less intrigued by it. It's another Ryan Murphy series. So I think it would be good. The TikTok girlies love him. That's not surprising. But yeah, I think that I'm just really happy for them both him and Cooper, because I didn't know who Cooper was. I know he's been acting and he's been in a lot, and I think I've probably even seen movies he's been in or TV shows. I just can't think of them at the top of my head. But yeah, I don't have Hulu either, Kaiwan. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to. You're going to try to watch grotesque. It looks intriguing. It gives me American Horror Story vibes, to be honest, from the trailer that I watched. I was just impressed that he got 2 series in like such a short amount of time, and that they aired like basically 2 weeks after each other. That's insane. Like, damn. And I think Nicholas said that the Monsters was shot in 6 months, like a 6 months sort of job. Hopefully not too scary. I don't think it'll be scary because it's Ryan Murphy. Like, he manages to kind of what he does really well is he can take horror and like grotesque stuff and still give like comedy and still give emotion and insanity and just like a really intriguing story. That is why I started watching American Horror Stories in the first place, the series. So it's 2 series. That's why he didn't come back. Yeah, exactly. Can't blame him, honestly. The sky's the limit for him now at this point. I think people are going to say what they want about the show and the controversies and the poor portrayals and this and that and the other thing. But I don't think you can discredit those 2 guys as actors watching that. Just the way, you know, if you are someone who's very much like me, who didn't know the whole story and just kind of seen a few articles here and there before I watched the series, you would just be thinking, these 2 guys killed their parents. They must be absolute psychos, right? And even if with the like the sexual abuse angle, while it's a possibility, none of it was actually proven back then. Although, I will say that there, if you guys didn't know, there is new evidence that supports that they actually were. A letter from Eric Menendez to his cousin came to surface, and he actually discusses it. And it's a letter from back during that time, like in the 80s and 90s. So we'll see if they get set free. I will say, if it is true, then yeah, get them out of there. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, I don't know. It's a controversy. It's such a split you know, I guess viewpoints on those brothers. Of course, there's a lot more empathy towards them now, and of course the actors who played them have empathy towards them. But at the same time, I can see why people wouldn't be. So, you know, it's, you got to think, like, everyone, like, I'll be honest, someone like reamed me out for like just kind of being like, well, I can see why A, B, and C, and on the other hand, I can see why A, B, and C from both angles. And then I just got trashed for it and accused of supporting staying with someone that sexually abuses you. And I'm like, no. Like, first of all, hell no. Gross. Yeah, the Menendo boy came out last year and said that, yeah, I'm aware of that too. The Menudo situation. My thing was trying to see it from like a person on a jury's point of view, or in a court of law, like someone claiming something with nothing to really back it up is not necessarily like enough to get them out of there. You know what I mean? Like, when it's just hearsay, like, this person, you know, essayed me, R'd me. It like, you can say that, and you can look like you genuinely mean it, but at the end of the day, it might not be enough to exonerate them. However, with like a concrete thing, like a letter that supports them, you know what I mean? Like, then there's obviously like that factor going in and be like, well, they were, yeah, they don't deserve life for like doing that to such vile people. But also on the flip side, like, I think, and this is where like the Tumblr user like completely just decided to like lash out at me. I was like, okay, but they didn't have to kill them to like, and when I said that, they were like, oh, so you'd rather like let them stay? And I was like, no, they were grown ass adults. They could have moved out, gotten a job, cut ties with them, never see or heard them again. They didn't have to plot their murders. That is all, you know what I mean? That was all that I was getting at, but she like accused me before I even like managed to be like, actually, let me explain my point here. I support them getting out, 100%. I support them getting away from the parents, 100%. They didn't need to kill them to do it. That was my point. So like, and to that end, I think they know that, based on what I've seen. They know that they fucked up by killing them. And they buried themselves in a bunch of lies which made them look worse. And, you know, the reality is, to like the naked eye, they can easily look like, you know, spoiled brats that just wanted their parents' inheritance, and so they killed them. Like, that's, you know, like, it's not out of the, it's believable why people would straight up, you know, announce them sort of guilty, especially with things that they were caught in, like obviously the recordings of the murders, the whole the what do you call it, the manuscript that Eric and his friend knew about, that was about, you know, kids killing their parents. Like, there's a lot, you know what I mean? Sorry, I'm catching up on the chat here. The reason back then they said they lied about getting SA'd is because the dumbass judge said that boys can't get M or R'd. And that's, unfortunately, that's the reality of the situation, is that people didn't believe that because there was this whole thing with masculinity, and I totally get that. It's just, it's unfortunate for them. But I think even if people did have like a more open-minded view on that, as they do today, as we all do today, it's not necessarily going to get them out of killing their parents, especially if they don't have proof to back up what they did. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, that's what the court of law is there for. You can't just like base your verdict on they cried a lot of tears and the tears seemed genuine. Like, it was, at the end of the day, they killed the only people that could back that up, apart from the cousin. And the cousin could have lied to try to save them. So I can kind of see in those situations why the jury ended up deciding that they're guilty. At the end of the day, they are guilty of killing their parents, but it's the reasons for it. Like, there had to be something more concrete than just take my word for it, especially when they were caught in so many lies. They cried when they called the cops too, saying that their parents were murdered when they were the ones that murdered them. So I think that like there's reasons beyond that ignorant judge's word. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's how I feel. The first therapist was such trash. Yeah, they were. Oh man. There's no such thing as an innocent criminal. That's the thing. Yeah, like, they're not innocent. Like I said, they effed up. They murdered their parents when they could have just left the house, got a job, cut ties, and moved on with their lives. I think, obviously there's people that would be like, well, if they called the cops on them, like, I'm not even saying to do it. It would have been great, but back in the 90s, they would have probably been laughed out, and the father could have paid a bunch of money to shut them up, or hell, have them killed. But I think, like, they could have just split. That's all I'm saying. And yes, it's not easy to leave abusive relationships, but when you're 18 and 21, I think they were, in the 90s, you could work at McDonald's and pay for an apartment. And whether it was because they're used to their luxurious lifestyle or not, and whatever their reasons for not just doing that, like, realistically, like, I don't know. I just feel like there were options that they could have taken. But, and that's not to say, like, had they gotten free from killing their parents back then, I don't believe that they would have ever murdered someone again. Straight up, I don't believe that. I think that they would have been their only victims, and they would have been able to live freely and move on with their lives. Probably not as freely as they would like, because obviously their trial was kind of as big as the OJ's. I mean, it got overshadowed by OJ's a little bit, obvious reasons, but like, they essentially became celebrities, and the only gauge that they had were like letters from fans, and going in and out of courtrooms and seeing people support them. So who knows what their life would have been like if they got out back then. Maybe their life would have been great. Who knows? But yeah, another thing I am curious about, if anybody in the chat knows, I'd like this to be answered. There, in the show, they were disinherited. and was it Lyle went into the safe alone and got rid of the will. If Gypsy Rose is free, so can they. Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Like I think that they will get out, and especially now that there's like this concrete evidence of it, like they'll likely be free. And I think just as of hours ago, they're actually waiting on word on whether that can happen. Let's see. I can't see what you guys are saying. I'm gonna read this article that I found that was just posted just a couple of hours ago. So it says Lyle and Eric Menendez have been behind bars in California for more than 3 decades for the 1989 killing of their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez. They were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison in the notorious case that captured the nation's attention. Now the brothers are hoping that new evidence will reopen their case and set them free. 48 Hours contributor Natalie Morales speaks to Lyle Menendez from prison as he awaits a judge's decision in an encore of the Menendez brothers' fight for freedom, airing September 28th. Ooh, so there's actually... Oh, wow. There's a whole 48-hour special getting put on TV this weekend. Anyway, the Menendez brothers admit that they killed their parents. Instead, the focus of the case has long been on why they did it. They insist that they killed out of fear and in self-defense after a lifetime of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse suffered at the hands of their parents. One of their lawyers, Cliff Gardner, tells 48 Hours that the new evidence corroborates those long-standing claims and lessens their culpability. Gardner argues that Lyle and Eric Menendez should have been convicted of manslaughter instead of first-degree murder. That I do agree with. Especially now knowing that it is true. A lot of, again, it was hearsay. I believe it, that doesn't mean a jury is going to. And, in a state of law, that just believing what they say was going to be enough to convict. If anything, it probably would have, turned into another mistrial. But yeah, they would have received a much shorter sentence and been out of prison a long time ago. They actually show a picture of the letter. The new evidence includes a letter that Gardner says was written by Eric Menendez to Eric's cousin, Andy Cano, in December 1988, about 8 months before the crime. The letter reads, in part, "I've been trying to avoid Dad. It's still happening, Andy, but it's worse for me now. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in. I'm afraid. He's crazy. He warned me 100 times about telling anyone, especially Lyle." Andy Cano did testify at the brothers' trials. He said that Eric Menendez, at age 13, years before the killings, told him that his father was touching him inappropriately. Prosecutors at trial suggested that Cano was lying. The brothers were tried twice. The first trial ended in a mistrial when 2 juries, one for each brother, couldn't reach a unanimous decision as to whether Lyle and Eric Menendez were guilty of manslaughter or murder. When they were tried a second time, prosecutors attacked the abuse allegations more aggressively. They referred to the allegations as the abuse excuse. That trial resulted in the brothers' convictions for the first-degree murder. Gardner says this letter is proof that the abuse allegations were not made up. He says the letter was never presented at either trial and that it was discovered in storage with him the last few years by Andy Cano's mother. Andy Cano died in 2003. Oh, interesting. I was curious, how that letter didn't come out. I am still somewhat curious about it because I feel like, should he not have brought the letter with him, back in the day? If he, did he know that he still had it? But yeah, letter isn't the only piece of evidence that has surfaced. Roy Rosello, a former member of the Puerto Rican boy band Menudo. Just to clarify, I'm pretty sure that's Ricky Martin's boy band from back in the day, right? Before he was a solo artist. He's come forward claiming that he was also sexually abused by Jose Menendez back in the 80s when Rosello was a minor and a member of the band, and at the time, Jose was working as an executive at RCA Records, and RCA signed Menudo to a recording contract. Rizzullo is now 54 years old. He says in a sworn affidavit filed in 2023 that he went to Jose Menendez's home in the fall of 83 or 84. Rizzullo would have been between 14 and 15 years old at the time. He says he drank a glass of wine, then felt he had no control over his body. It's a suffice to say, I don't need to read the whole thing of this, but now there's all this proof, even beyond the Menudo, beyond that boy band member's words. There's that letter, and I think the letter is probably the crucial thing that might actually exonerate these two. Hey, Jacarius. Yeah, the word thing about the safe, it's true. I had over 51 witnesses, more than... I hope someone's home. I heard my doorbell just ring. Alright. They had over 51 witnesses, more than one cousin in the first trial. I find random stuff I wrote all the time from over a decade. Yeah, Ricky Martin was in that band. Okay. Were there multiple? Because also in the show, and I don't know if this is true, they showed scenes of Lyle asking people to lie and say that they saw this abuse. You know what I mean? So like that's where I kind of, get confused on the whole thing. And then I feel like the show goes in a little more detail than obviously what was known back in the trial, but obviously there was some kind of situation between Lyle and a girl that was writing to him, and she ended up actually being a journalist, and she was recording their phone calls and writing a story, and basically Lyle is caught saying a lot of things that paint him in a bad light according to the actual story, versus we see him straight up telling people that it was, the abuse was a lie, and like, so I don't know. It's a weird, I don't know. Yeah. However, that is why I typically don't want to watch shows like this, because it skewers the truth for shock value and entertainment value. And that is something I don't appreciate when it comes to real life situations. I totally get certain liberties be taken, but it's a different thing when it's this dark of a topic. You know what I mean? Hope nothing happened to Ricky with all these Diddy allegations. Jose could have been another Diddy. Tis true. They had an aunt and uncle on their side. Yeah, but people can be on their side and still, not know what went down. Like they said themselves, they kept it a secret from everyone because they were afraid the dad was going to do something. So unless the aunt and uncle actually seen things themselves, you know what I mean? Well, that's all I'm getting at. Like I said, I genuinely believe the brothers. I'm hoping that they do get out and that their charge becomes a lesser charge. They testify they saw things. Yeah, but people were accusing them of lying. That's what I'm saying. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that families will lie to protect people that they, believe to be innocent. Or not. So, especially when there's money involved and wealth, who knows? That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying that I totally get why a jury might have convicted guilty anyway. So, but like I said, I believe them. If I was watching back then and I knew the story back then, I would have believed them for sure. I mean, I was 4. DC, how goes it, man? We're talking about monsters. Did you watch? We should get into GH soon, though. In all honesty, I talked about it way longer than I thought I would. But yeah, let me give my final thoughts on Monsters. The acting was phenomenal. I personally would have rather not watched it. I just wanted to support Nicholas, and that's mainly because of how I feel about these dark situations being turned into serial drama for entertainment, especially when they skewer the truth. And I knew that would probably happen under Ryan, so Ryan Murphy. It certainly does have a dark undertone to it. They got one uncle, Kitty's brother, thinks that they need to stay in prison. See, like, it's a slippery slope. But yeah, it's a dark series. But I will say, DC, that the acting is phenomenal, and Nicholas and Cooper, who played the brothers, did such an incredible job. And even Javier and Chloe, who played the parents, were phenomenal as well. And they're all playing these dark people, like you know what I mean. So if you can like sort of, I don't know, I guess not necessarily replace the dark undertones in your mind, but like just see it as like I'm watching these actors perform a really crazy story. Which GH storyline was the darkest? Oh man. I mean, there's been some dark stuff over the last 60 something years at this point. 61, 62. But I mean, anytime there's like a rape involved is a very dark story. Michael getting Ard in prison was pretty dark. Yeah. The text message killer as well was pretty dark. Like seeing Cooper Barrett hung in his room, that was dark. And of course Georgie murdered on the steps. The early 2000s, there was a lot of dark stuff. Franco the original. Yeah, Franco was pretty dark as well. All right. Oh yeah, Kiefer beating up Christina felt so dark. Yeah, that was a really good, well done story, and Lexi killed that shit. She was so good at it. That's what really impressed me, seeing her. And I always thought that they ultimately didn't do enough with her character in the later years. And now they have Kate Manzi playing it. Now that she's not doing a great job, I just feel like Lexi deserved as much screen time as she's getting now. And she just didn't get under Frank Valentini. I don't know why. All right. But yeah, now that we're slowly easing our way back into GH, let's talk about GH, because I didn't live stream Sunday because rehearsals went late. Yeah, I'll just kind of, maybe we won't talk about it as much as I planned to. I'll just kind of say, I'm not saying I don't. I'm saying I like Kate Manzi. I think she's doing a great job. I just wish that Lexi got the same screen time that Kate Manzi's getting now. Like, I would have, preferred that Lexi stayed, personally. But that's not to discredit Kate Manzi's work at all. I think she's doing a great job. I just think I wish that Lexi got the same treatment, because she could have been, she could have rocked this story just as much. All right. But yeah, my take on GH over the last week and a half-ish or so. My favorite part of what we haven't discussed has been the adventure in Africa. I think that the set of that casino area was really like an impressive set, like quite large, great color and lighting, and it was fun seeing Finola and Steve in those fancy outfits that we never see them in. It was fun seeing Emma Samms there and interacting with Anna again. I've enjoyed all that. The one thing that I haven't been enjoying about the story, I will say, from the Africa portion of it, of rescuing Lucky has been just the endless scenes that we had with Lucky and Sidwell just playing cards for like days. Like, oh, it was driving me nuts how long it was taking. And just like him just kind of rotting in this prison and like being held there because Lucky's just continuously winning at games of cards with him. And to that end, the same thing is happening again in today's episode. Hoy. Yeah, they really did wait too long to give Lexi a good story. We got to see Rebecca Hurst and Jonathan Jackson reunite in his mind only. I don't know how I feel about those scenes though, to be honest. Like they were just so weird to me. Like the way they had Elizabeth acting, like she didn't seem like she was Elizabeth. I guess in a way she wasn't. She was really Lucky, self-conscious and kind of saying out loud the thoughts that he's been kind of keeping bottled down about, you know, he ran away from everybody and he's a coward and all this stuff. It just felt weird to me. Hey Nathan. Angel, you said I don't care about Sidwell stuff, just get Lucky home. Lucky could have just gotten on a plane and be there for Lulu. Yeah, like I'm with you. Like I don't mind that they've let us know like where he's been, what he's been up to, and even making like a crazy story out of it, but it did not to be as long as it has been. That's how I feel. They could have resolved this in like 2-3 episodes. I also don't like that like they have Jason going there to rescue him with Anna. Like I would have rather Felicia been there. Hell, Jack Brennan. That would have been cool to see him there too. Even Robert, even though like for me, Tristan Rogers is getting up there in age and it's slowly starting to show. So him being there would have come off a little bit, a little bit weird, but I wonder this was Jason's original return story and Lucky got it. I don't think so. But who knows? Maybe some different iteration of it. DC, you're saying it's weird to me that Jason is even in Africa. Like, he doesn't care about Lulu or Lucky like that. He barely cares about his kids. If Lucky was Robin, I would understand all the concern. I think it's mostly he's doing it for Carly because Carly wanted it because she's so worried about Lulu. But even that, I'm like... I've mentioned this in probably a previous live stream at some point in the last few weeks, but Lulu and Carly have not been close in many years. You know, they fell out hard after the whole Dante and Brooklyn thing, and they never really fixed their relationship after that. It wasn't as bad as it had gotten, but it wasn't anywhere near to the way that Carly is visiting Lulu and scared for her now. Like this just seems a bit whatever. But I'm also in my head, I'm like, they've been trying to like reset a lot of the characters. Most of it was under Patrick Mulcahy, but the way that they have been talking about Lulu has been very much like talking about her as if she was the Lulu that we grew up with under Julie. So yeah, that's all. DC said, I've digested the story with Carly at the center because she's a Spencer, but Tracy should have been the one leading the search since she has a close relationship with Lulu. Yeah, I feel that way too. Also, where are Laura and Kevin? How did they, where are they? Where in Africa are they? Are they being held hostage too? Are they going to have to also rescue Laura and Kevin? Like, I know that, like, realistically it's probably because Jeannie's on vacation again. But, like, yeah. Where did they go? Where? Why is no one worried? Well, Well, no, I know you can fall out with a relative and not want them to die, but like being there at every waking breath and like being like the shoehorn to try to force people to do their bidding to rescue Lulu, you know, or rescue Lucky, sorry. It was just it's just a bit much, in my opinion. Genie Francis is always on vacation when the storyline really needs her. It was the same thing for Tony Geary and Luke as well. It's unfortunate. I feel like the show needs to do a better job at having them shoot scenes in advance and spreading them out so that it doesn't seem like they're gone. Because they obviously shoot things out of order. That's why we've seen Kelly Monaco's stand-in, I forget her name, I apologize, like pop in and out because they shot scenes weeks ago and they're only just airing now. Or I mean, like weeks and weeks ago as opposed to the regular weeks ago that they usually shoot. They shoot things out of order all the time. They could surely have done that with Jeannie and Kevin before they left. Jeannie and John before Jeannie left. They're taking an African safari. Oh man. Also, one thing that people are talking about, like, I don't really see it, but people are speculating that they might try to put Jason and Anna together. It doesn't feel like they're doing that to me. I know that Holly kind of made a joke about it, but I seen it as like a joke. Like, Anna's never going to date the man that her daughter used to date. Lindsay Hartley. Thank you, Angel. Lindsay Hartley's stand-in for Sam. But yeah, personally, I do not want to see Jace. If they are planning to go on that route, Jason and Anna is not a relationship that I want to see. However, Jordan and Isaiah, I totally ship it. I don't know about you guys, but Isaiah is like just the way he lights up when he sees her, and the way that she lights up, and how invested she is in taking care of him, and how they're slowly building this friendship with each other as well. I'm here for it. Honestly, Isaiah is probably the most intrigued I've been about a new character in a long time. And he's a doctor, y'all. He's a doctor. He's a charismatic individual. He's got a bit of a god complex, just like Patrick does. Like, it's giving Patrick Drake vibes. And honestly, I see he's obviously going to work at GH. Obviously. I don't want to see Jason rolling around in bed with Anna. Yeah, I hear y'all. I'm right there with all of you. Lindsay Hartley is my new Sam. Kelly Monaco who? Oh man. I mean, in a perfect world, DC. If Kelly Monaco was just like let go and not what appears to be planning to get killed off, I wouldn't mind Lindsay as a stand-in. And I've said it on a few different a few different live streams in the past that Kelly's really been phoning it in, like for many years now. It feels like she doesn't enjoy being there. She's just doing it because it's her job. The passion for the character seems to have dispersed. Maybe I'm reading too much into or seeing what I want to see. And y'all know I love Kelly Monaco. Y'all know I love Sam. But she's not the same as a stand-in or a recast. No, I'm saying if Kelly were to leave the show, I would accept her as a recast for sure. But we know that they're killing off the character. I wish that they weren't, and that they just wanted to let Kelly go for whatever their reasons, and they bring Lindsay on to replace her. Now that said, I'm not stupid. Fans would blow a gasket if they're letting her go just to have someone else play her. Angel said, I don't understand why they just don't have Lindsay do it if they want to let Kelly go. I feel like there's some behind the scenes shit that just there's some bitterness going on, and that's the vibe I'm getting. There's some bitterness behind the scenes, and they're killing her off as punishment. Kelly Monaco deleted her Instagram post about telling all the tea. Interesting. Hey, TM Machine. We're doing good. We spent pretty much an hour talking about the Menendez brothers. And then now we're just kind of recapping GH as fast as we can. But we're doing well. How are you doing? But yeah, it sucks. Like, I guess I had this as like a point to talk about. I think it's safe to say, I don't know if you guys seen the scene or caught it, but the last week, someone somewhere, no, Sam mentioned that she was wanting to go dive into the water to, get the gun that Alexis threw over the bridge. And then Dante was like, it's a strong current, and she's like, I'm an experienced diver, so if I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I would bet that we're gonna see Sam drown. And the thing about that is, they could show her body or they could not show her body. That kind of death, if that's the death that they're going with, it could potentially leave the door open unless we see her dead. And I'm hoping that we don't, but I feel like there's there's a lot. I've been out for I think maybe a year or less. I've been feeling I missed a lot because of work. I gotta get caught up, and I'm sure I will eventually. I hope you do. How's the tour going? It's not really a tour. I'm assuming you're referring. I think it's a lazy way that they kill off Sam too. By the way, I'm just doing shows a lot. If you're referring to me being in a band now, I got a show in 2 days actually, but it's been fun. Oh, it's good to hear you're doing okay. Yeah, there's a rumor that Sam will drown looking for a gun. Yeah, that's because it seems like the likely story, and I feel like that is going to be the story. I feel like I wanted Sam to go out with a bang, and she's going out with a flop, and that sucks. Like, that sucks. I've been hearing a lot of behind-the-scenes mess with Kelly Monaco's exit. Basically, Lindsay will play the role and revive Sam. Lindsay has signed for 2 years as Sam. So that's just rumors, though, right? Like, I don't know. That's all hearsay until I see confirmation. I don't like hearsay. I don't like rumors. They're killing Sam off to bring back Lulu. I mean, we are getting Lulu back, but it's just played by a different actress. And I think... all right, good night. You can call me GHMV or Dion. Doesn't matter. Good night, though. The guy that played Jagger, and I guess Sam, too, and the guy that played AJ. At least she didn't die because of Jason. I don't know, but I would have rather seen her, like, die a hero in some way that's, like, worthy of, like, the legacy that Sam has left as a character. All the badassery that she has done in the past, She's too badass to go out on a flop. It's kind of like how they killed Luke in, like, a... what do you call those things? A lift accident. Caused by a cast iron, of course, but, like... I don't know. An off-screen death. Silly. Anyway, let's get back to the show, because there's still a few more things to talk about, and I'm hoping to end the stream before 10 p.m. my time, so in the next 20 minutes. I just want to say, in regards to the Africa story, one more thing. I really enjoyed the scenes between Felicia and Robert with Jack the other day. It felt like classic GH, watching Felicia and Robert interact, and just how they were sort of interrogating and, like, sort of not blackmailing, but like getting him to speak up. To be like, well, hey, you can tell us this information, otherwise we might have to say something else to someone else. It's Angel, you said it's hypocritical that Sam had just complained that Jason is too risky, and look what she's about to do. Yep. And I've said it already before, the writing for Sam has been absolute trash, and I don't doubt that they're doing that purposely to the character because of whatever behind the scenes garbage could potentially be going on. It wouldn't surprise me. Because surely there's a reason to write her so unlikable. Like realistically there's no reason that I can think of why they would just be trashing the character as much as they have been the last few years, but damn. Alright, back to it though. Carly and Jack. I like their chemistry. I would rather see Carly and Jack be a thing. Obviously right now, according to Diane, Sonny and Carly have to fake a romance to make it believable so that their alibi is believable, and it's just something that I don't want to see again. Like I feel like they've actually written them to a point where I actually believe that they won't get back together, and that this is going to be a thing. I don't think this storyline is going to get them back into an actual real couple. I think that ship has sailed. It feels like it's sailed. But yeah, that the Sonny and Carly fake romance thing that they have to do according to Diane is so dumb. It's so unbelievably dumb. Maybe they won't find a body. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking. Hopefully they do leave it open-ended. We'll see. I was gonna say, what was the next point? The Quartermaines, Willow, and having to deal with Michael and Ned arguing. That seemed so left field, and I've always felt this with Michael and Willow as a couple. Like, it's always been her having to tiptoe around him and him hiding things from her, and it's just been so. It feels like such a toxic relationship. I've never seen a likable reason to like them as a couple ever. So, and like, does that mean I want her with Drew? No, but like, it would probably beat her and Michael's relationship at this point. It would certainly bring a lot of drama, and Michael will probably throw a tantrum, but I don't know. Willow just needs to be by herself. How about that? Michael just needs to leave town. Even, that I would be down for. Yeah, they've helped grow the whole baby stuff. Yeah. Ooh, I'm switching topics here. Rick and Elizabeth. I really enjoyed their scenes at Kelly's, where Elizabeth was just like honest about like, I don't want to be in a relationship. I keep on dating men that are, not exactly the best. And I'm over it. I just need to be by myself. I think, and just like straight up friend zoned him. But I respect that Rick was like, I will settle being for your friend, and I won't bother you about trying to woo you back into a relationship. I hope he means that. Because Rick was getting on my nerves flirting with Elizabeth as much as he was when he, like, the last week or so. And I'm glad she put her foot down, and I'm glad that he at least appears to be okay with that. Liz needs friends, y'all, so, hopefully that happens. Speaking of Elizabeth, though, she mentioned the other day that Steven Weber is out of jail. They finally remembered he was in there. Which is great. I don't think the show has any immediate plans to bring back the character, but I'd be here for it if they did. Honestly. What they write for the actress or to act, or the actor to act. They should just make good storylines regardless of what's going on behind the scenes. I agree, but I mean, like, I just think that there is definitely some pettiness behind all of that. Why was Steven in jail? He was in jail because off screen and wherever he was living before, he kind of played God with patients' lives. I don't remember the whole story, but the gist of it was that I think there was like a young child that needed to be saved, and then like a criminal that needed to be saved, and Steven purposely let the criminal die to save the young child, but it was like like he essentially killed a criminal. And like, whether I don't like, what was it exactly? I wish, hold on, let me see if I can find like the whole gist of it. Oh yeah, so he killed a former patient to transplant their heart to another patient. So I think he killed a former patient to transplant, that was a criminal, to transplant that into a child's heart, or into another child. I can't speak English today, guys. I'm sorry, y'all. You get what I mean, though, right? Like, Steven killed someone to give a child a heart transplant, played with his life because the guy was a criminal to save this child. That's what it was. And so he went to jail for that. And he's been there ever since. And that was like 2012 or 13. It was like post Frank Valentini for sure. Because Steven was still here when he got here. Because he was around when Heather dosed Olivia with LSD before she ended up with Ned. Would have just passed on the prisoner and not risk my license. Ay. But yeah, needless to say, he's out of prison, so there's options to bring him back. I think Scott Reeves is retired now, but like, maybe Steve Burton and Jonathan Jackson can talk him out of it, because they were all three in a band together with Bradford and Brandon, who was former Johnny. Bradford was Spinelli. But yeah, it threw me for a loop hearing his name and that he got out of prison. I was like, oh, are they gonna bring him back? We'll see. But she said something to the effect of, yeah, Steven's probably not going to visit me in town because that would put him in close proximity to Heather Weber. Speaking of Heather Weber, two things. Her cobalt levels, I probably said that word wrong, but the level of whatever was in her system from that hip replacement showed as being exactly the same as they were when it was in her system, which insinuates that it was never poisoning that was affecting her behavior. Rick saw that, gave the bad news to Heather, and said that she wouldn't be getting out. Rick then showed the paperwork to Elizabeth, and she's confused as to why it would show that way. And I think Rick is going elsewhere to have another test done. We learned this week that Portia messed with Heather's test results. Am I surprised? Absolutely not. Just how close she was lingering to the test results before and waiting on them so desperately. I'm not remotely surprised that she did that. I think that the fact that she just found out that Brad's been hired again, she's going to make a plan to frame him for it. However, what I do think is they are probably going to get her caught, and she might be fired as the chief of staff, and they might hire Isaiah as the chief of staff. Or maybe they'll throw in a loop and Steven will become a new Steve of Chaff. Steve of Chaff? Chief of Staff. Oh my gosh. I'm tired, y'all. But yeah. Maybe the other Steven, the curly-haired one that liked Carly. Maybe. What's he up to these days? The previous Steve before Scott Reeves. Or they'll just recast him. Who knows? Don't know why Portia didn't think Rick would do 2 lab tests at 2 different labs. She's not the sharpest tool in the shed. But also at the same time, Elizabeth could mention that to Portia, obviously not thinking that she could have anything to do with those results, and combat them. Who knows? We'll see. Rookie move, Portia. Indeed. But yeah, let's quickly talk about this Christina mess. Alexis got arrested. Sonny is literally doing nothing about it except he hired Martin, who is back as well. Except he doesn't have a beard anymore, and he's suddenly lost most of his sort of Southern accent that he put on so thickly in the past. Threw me for a loop there too. But yeah, he's basically being Alexis's lawyer when she was at first trying to represent herself. And he's suggesting that she point the fingers to Sonny. It's so ridiculous that this is going on. Honestly, this story is so dumb. The first thing for me is Christina. I mean, the reason why Alexis threw the gun away, A, because she was scared she was going to harm herself, but B, mostly because she thought that Christina would get in really big trouble for having a firearm while she's facing a trial. A trial that is likely not going to happen for her anymore because Ava recanted her story and Jagger is dead. So I feel like what would probably be the best move in this situation is let Christina tell the damn truth that she had the gun. You know, she got a gun and she was wanting to go kill Jagger with it, but she didn't do it. Obviously, that is not going to work. Christina will sit in jail waiting for trial just like Alexis would have been doing. The difference is Sonny wouldn't let Christina stay in jail. Sonny would probably confess to the murders just to keep Christina out of jail because he doesn't want to be the reason that his daughter goes to jail because he's covering up what he did. That, like, there's no way in hell. Like, for his baby mamas, absolutely he would let them rot. Absolutely. But he sees Christina, especially now, as this fragile thing who can't handle anything. He would not let her stay in jail. He would either have his men surrounding her or he would confess. I feel like he would confess. Because her just being in there would be a big problem for him. It wouldn't be enough for him to have his people watch out for her. Like the same way he kind of did that with Spencer. But this is his daughter. And she's like the child that needs him the most. That gun that didn't even unalive Jagger. That's what I'm saying. Like, so what could have happened on top of all that, like somebody just confessing, like, have the police go look for the damn gun. Why aren't they looking for the gun now? They know one was dropped in there. Surely they have enough technology, far more than Sam would, to go in there safely and try to obtain the gun to prove that it was not the gun that killed Jagger. So, it's such a headache of a story. The only good thing about this story right now, as it stands, is that Alexis and Heather are bunk buddies in prison. Allie Mills and Nancy Lee Grant, from what little we've seen so far, they would be hilarious together. And we got to see some scenes with them already, and they were already hilarious. but it could just be such a funny dynamic and just entertaining to watch because they're both good at like deadpan and like crazy comedy. Like Nancy and Allie are both so extra in terms of how they play their characters in the best, and I mean that in the best way possible because their characters call for it. But like I just think it's such a fun dynamic, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of them since we're stuck with this story anyway. Really looking forward to seeing them interact more. And that's the only thing I'm enjoying about the story. But yeah, that's kind of like all the kind of main points I wanted to touch on. Like I said, the only story I'm really somewhat enjoying is the bit down in Africa. Now that everyone's kind of there, and they've all now seen Lucky. Lucky has seen them. Sonny let Michael sit in prison only. Jason volunteered to go to prison with Michael. Except the difference is that Michael committed the murder. That's the difference. Michael committed the murder. Christina didn't. Sonny committed this murder. That's why his guilt would take over, and he would not let his child sit in prison for a crime that he committed. That's what I mean. It's different. Michael killed Claudia. Yes, Sonny brought her into their lives, but like Michael killed Claudia. Rick can be with Portia. I don't know about Rick and Portia, but I don't know about Rick and anyone. Stephen Lars is the Black Doctor's father. That would be crazy. Does Steve ain't... I don't know. I'm not saying that the Isaiah looks older. Like old. But Steve to me is still like relatively young. So it just feels like it would be weird. Oh no. I don't know. I feel like Sonny, because of Christina's fragility, like I feel like he sees Michael as a boy and a tough man and all this, at least back then. He could handle being in there, especially with Jason going in there to sit with him. But like, he ain't gonna let his daughter sit in there by herself. Jason ain't gonna go in there with her to protect her. He's too busy. Don't think Rick was on long term. They didn't really specify whether he was or not. I mean, he's clearly sticking around a little bit. We'll see. Anyway, though, I think we have been on long enough. An hour and a half is like the longest I've live streamed in a long time, but we were talking about two different shows here, in all fairness. But I'm losing my voice, and I can't do that 2 days before my show. I don't know. I've never really seen the chemistry with Rick and Liz, to be honest. Alright, though. I'm going to end the live stream here. I will be on this Sunday. No more rehearsals for a while, guys. After this weekend. I don't know if I told you. Currently, my guitarist that you guys see regularly is not able to do the show on Friday. So I have a stand-in. His name is Ryan, and he plays in like a heavy metal band with my drummer, AJ, currently. And it's just been funny to see him like do like pop punk and like dark pop, because he's so like, he plays it like metal, but I kind of like how some of the songs were sounding when they have a little bit more edge. So I'm excited to see the final result of, obviously he's practicing at home by himself. We had rehearsals yesterday with him as well. I'm just intrigued of how it's going to turn out. And if it all goes to shit, that's okay too. Saw the short, liked it. Oh yeah, the short. Well, I didn't post the short with Ryan. What you seen there was me, my drummer, and my bass player. But yeah. Ryan's also been a really good friend of mine for many years. So I know who he is. I know he's good. He's not someone I just met. Actually, technically, if you guys have seen pictures of me performing with that black sparkly hat that I have, he wore it on stage before I did when I went to his show like years ago. So, in fact, it just makes sense, you know? Now he's going to be rocking a red one for the show. All right, y'all. But I will catch you guys on Sunday. I'll let you know how the show goes then. I don't know how much filming we're going to do for the show. Because at the end of the day, he's just standing in for Bernie for this one show. I'll have some content just to thank him for being on this show, though. Because I adore that kid. I'm excited that I'm on stage with Ryan. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to the hybrid live stream of Monsters and General Hospital. It was a good conversation. We had a great conversation about both shows, and especially all the stuff with Monsters and just the real life situation of those brothers. So yeah, thanks. I really enjoyed this live stream. And if you guys liked it, give it a big old thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to. And I will catch you guys this Sunday. Peace out. Mwah. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a good weekend.